starts with Bengals at Titans. Titans minus 3.5. Over under 47, up to 47.5. The over has been ticking up here. This line opened at Titans minus 2.5 and quickly crossed a key number, which is a little terrifying if you are a Bengals fan, Pete.
Yeah, it is. And by the way, I saw somewhere where this is the tightest spread for the 4 games since what, 1990 something?
1990 something? Really? Wow. I hadn't seen that.
I don't know. Yeah. See, because they're real tight. Usually there's a 10 or 11 pointer and a set. Nothing.
Yeah. Usually there's one. Well, usually what happens is wild card weekend's crazy.
Right.
Somebody sneaks in. Like if the Steelers had beaten the Chiefs, and I guess the Steelers would be at the Titans, but that line would still be like 8 or 9 probably.
Yeah. So it sets up a good weekend. This game, this is a tough game for me, but the more I
think this is the hardest game to pick on the whole slate.
Well, I thought so, but the more I looked at it, the more I thought, no, it's not. And here's why. You know how I'm a big Bengals backer. I mean, I think Joe Burrow, I picked him to win 1 in the next, when he was drafted, 1 in 10. They said 2, but I'll say 1. And I still think that's going to happen. They're a little ahead of schedule. But I'm worried about their offensive line against that pass rush. They did a decent job last week, solid job. But, Isaiah Prince is bad at right tackle. He had issues with Crosby. He's going to have issues with their pass rush here. I think the interior pass rush could be a problem as well. And on the other side, no Ogunjobi in the middle of that line is a problem. And he's one of their better run defenders. They're going to run on that. And I think that's going to be an issue. So I'm going to lean to the Titans here as a best bet, minus 3.5. And I just think this is the first time where we don't know what Henry's going to be, but he's going to be back. This is the first time this group has been together in a long time. And so I'm going to take the Titans to ruin the Bengals season and win by the 3.5. I'll take Tennessee.
And the rush offense hasn't fallen apart without Henry. They've actually been pretty effective. And so getting him back in any sense is huge. It takes them from being a pretty good rush offense to potentially an elite one again. Talk about the Ogunjobi injury. The Cincinnati pressure rate drops from 35% when he's on the field to 26% when he's off. That is a massive drop. That takes him from being, I believe our research packet said, the second, but if you compare it to like a team's full game or full season numbers, that 35% would be second in the league. 26% would be 30th in the league. So that's kind of the context of those numbers. That's
35 when he's on.
35 when he's on, which ranks second, and 26 when he's off, which ranks 30th. So that's a big problem. If you're not getting pressure on Ryan Tannehill, he's going to carve you up. Even if he gets into those 3rd and long situations, that's where he excels. And if you're not able to pressure him on 3rd and long, then good night. He's picking up first downs. And that Tennessee defense can get pressure without blitzing, like Pete was talking about. They have a great rush defense, also 4th in yards per rush. Means they can put Cincinnati along the 3rd and longs and then get that pressure. Tennessee is 11-1 this season when they don't commit 3+ turnovers. So all you got to do is protect the ball, and you're going to advance in the playoffs here. And I think that game plan's much easier with Henry leading the way versus a beat-up defense now that he's back. Tennessee's had 8 wins versus teams with winning records this year. That's the most all-time in 1 year. And Vrabel, I know Brinson's probably going to cite this stat because everybody's been talking about it. Vrabel is 8-0 straight up and against the spread all time with at least 8 days of rest between games. And so this guy knows how to prepare when he's had extra time. I know he didn't know his opponent here, but that's a big deal here. So getting only 3.5, I was hoping it popped down to 3 all week, and it hasn't. So since we're locked in at 3.5, I'm making Tennessee minus 3.5 a best bet on my end as well.
Yeah, I'm sort of with Pete here, and like in the sense that I have look, Pete, like this is about as good a setup for the Bengals as you could ask for in terms of Joe Burrow trying to make a Super Bowl run, because like the Titans are a very good team, but if you can get into the AFC playoffs and host the Raiders, or a Raiders team that we didn't think had really a lot of business being in the postseason, and then you can have a path set up where your next game is on the road, and it's 4 hours from home, and you should be a lot of Bengals fans in Nissan Stadium. And then you can also only have to play one of the Bills or Chiefs. That is right. Isn't that about as good a setup as you can get in the AFC? I mean, Belichick, only one of Allen or Mahomes. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like, but And so I want this Bengals thing to happen. I want the Bengals to make a run. My only argument, however, for the Bengals beating the Titans is basically pictures of Joe Burrow in crazy glasses at a press conference and like not wanting to question Joe Burrow in a big game. He's now 7-0, 3,000 plus passing yards, as well as 31 passing touchdowns, 0 interceptions in quote unquote must-win games dating back to LSU. At the same time, the Ogunjobi injury plus the other injuries on the interior of the defensive line plays right into what the Titans want to do. I mean, they are a it's not exotic smash mouth, although that team does have that trademark, by the way. But it's going to be, if Derrick Henry is 75% of Derrick Henry and Donta Foreman plays like he's been playing, it's going to be, the Bengals are going to be forced to throw the ball a ton trying to play catch up. The Tennessee defensive line, very good. Now, I mean, certainly much better than it's been in years past. And it's just a problem. It's as good as, even though it's a good path, it's a bad matchup given the injuries that the Bengals have dealt with. I like the over a lot here. And I really want to take the Bengals, but I think Tennessee is probably the play. So we can add, you know what, I'll just go Tennessee as the best bet, and we can add, put that in the parlay.
Jeffrey Simmons could wreck this game.
Yeah. I mean, he is an absolute animal.
That's a mismatch on the inside with those guys. That's a big mismatch.
And Burrow moves really well in the pocket, but like, I mean, I do think there is something to the Vrabel stat. I don't know about the 8 days rest or whatever, but he's never lost off the bye. He's never failed to cover when he's at a bye. He's just a really good underrated coach, and he's going to have his guys prepared. What's that?
Yeah, they're rested.
Yeah, rested. It's just one of those situations where they're rested and they're healthier than the Bengals are right now. And the Bengals, the reason I like the over is I think you'll see Joe Burrow throw the ball 60 times, and they're going to get loose on some of these. Tennessee secondary a little vulnerable. So, but we can take Tennessee -3.5 as the first leg of our parlay.